Good morning, my name is Herndon, and my proposed senior research project aims to address the difference in the effects of binaural beats compared to lo-fi music on a memory task. I decided on this topic because I personally listen to music frequently whenever I do my homework, as it allows me to feel more motivated to do my tasks. It regularly keeps me focused, but I have found that some music does hinder my concentration. I originally desired to study this field out of enjoyment and often use of music. Then I was curious as to if a certain type of music would actually benefit my studying experience in any way. Ultimately, I wanted to examine if music only either impeded successful studying or did not affect it at all. After doing my research, I discovered binaural beats, which sparked my interest due to its signs of actually enhancing brainwave activity and even memory with certain frequencies. So I came to the conclusion that I wanted to base my research on figuring out if binaural beats could truly help me retain knowledge and keep me focused more efficiently during homework, and compare it to lo-fi music that barely has any frequency to conclude if there truly are benefits that come with certain types of music. Through researching this field, I have found that many sources have confirmed that binaural beats do alter the brain in some way, but several studies show inconsistent results for each experiment. One secondary source from 2023 states that binaural beats tend to be known and used for boosting memory and attention span, so the researchers desired to address how binaural beats would affect memory as well to gain a better understanding of how the beats work. It was confirmed that the beats do have an overall positive effect on memory and cognitive processes that can greatly help people have a better functioning brain, despite some uncertainty that calls for deeper research. By reading several sources based on the overall effectiveness of binaural beats, there was a repeating pattern of the studies not having sufficient information or variables to assess the difference the frequencies of the beats make. These details that I noticed were missing are what helped me in formulating my gap. This brings me to a study in 2021 that did not include a control group in their experiment when testing memory recollection. This limitation specifically led me to the conclusion that there was a need for a study addressing how binaural beats at the frequency of 40 Hz, known for memory benefits, compared to a complete different audio source that barely has any frequency with no direct benefits. This silence group uses the control will help me with the possibility of imprecise results and avoid mistakes that were made in prior studies. By the end of my study, I intend to answer the following question of, how do binaural beats affect performance on a memory task compared to lo-fi music? In order to answer this question, I formed a research hypothesis based on what I assume will happen, which is, if a person listens to binaural beats while performing a memory task, then their memory score will be higher than if they perform with lo-fi music. The assumption that the binaural beats group will produce higher scores than lo-fi music stems from past studies that have shown the presence of frequency enhancing brain performance over the little amount of frequency that is in lo-fi music. If this hypothesis is not confirmed, then my null hypothesis is, if a person listens to binaural beats while performing a memory task, then there will be no difference in their memory score compared to if they did it with lo-fi music or in silence. For the purpose of testing my research hypothesis, my independent variable that is being manipulated is the type of audio being provided to each group while taking the test. On the other hand, the memory score that results from each individual's test is the dependent variable that I will be measuring. There will also be a group that performs the memory test in silence to be used as the control group to compare the results from my two experimental groups. Several things are deemed constant in my study, such as the frequency of the binaural beats, the lo-fi music I choose to utilize, the type of headphones, the time of day and room that I experiment in with each time, the volume both audios are played, the number of people in each of the three groups, and the type of memory task given all need to remain the same through each trial. The group of people I aim to address through this research project is high school and college students. Studying is a big part of that specific age group, and learning while listening to music is a popular action. I intend to utilize 30 high school students for my sample, since I have 3 separate groups that are taking part in the memory test. 10 individuals will be randomly placed in one of the 3 groups. The materials necessary to conduct the experiment include live Q20 headphones, a computer to take the memory test, and a phone to play the audio that corresponds to each group. With the use of those few materials, I will first collect the 30 participants needed and have them sign a consent form in agreement to join my study. Next, I will randomly group the individuals in either a binaural beats, lo-fi, or silent group. 10 participants will be in each group and randomly assigned to one of the 3 groups by using a wheel and corresponding number identities until all individuals are placed in one of the 3 groups unknowingly. The participants in either the binaural beats group or the lo-fi group will be blindly provided with either one. When the individuals are in their respective groups, I will gather the materials needed for the experimenting days. On the days that each trial will take place, the individuals will be placed in the designated silent space where they will be provided with either binaural beats, lo-fi music, or no audio at all while taking the visual memory test. After it's completed, I will record the memory scores that were produced by each person's abilities and repeat this process until all 30 volunteers have completed the task. The final part of my test is to conduct statistical analysis of the data. By the completion of this procedure, my overall methods and the procedure used to answer my research question are mostly supported by a study in 2012 that involved participants also taking a memory test while listening to different audios to see how the scores varied. The relationship between my study's methods and that study's methods allows my procedure to be supported as the similarities explain my main idea and purpose behind each step. I also found that the source from 2012 utilized memory scores from a memory test to obtain the data to answer their research question just as I plan to do. Additionally, the use of silence as a control group is supported by this study as it also has 3 groups, 2 of which are separate audios while the 3rd group is no audio at all to avoid inaccurate data. This means that my intentions to use sounds as my control group are justified and supported. The results that are formed from the completion of my experiment will draw conclusions related to the variance among the test scores produced by the use of binaural beats, lo-fi music, or no audio during a memory test, to then be able to see the differences that occur among them. As stated before, it is hypothesized that the binaural beats will produce the highest scores on the memory test. The analysis of variance test will be used to confirm or deny this, since it is intended to compare variables to each other, just as I desire to do. The 30 high school students involved in my experiment to execute this plan will all be assigned a number randomly, 1 through 30, equally distributed into one of the 3 groups that will also be numbered 1 through 3. A spinning wheel will be used to group the participants until 10 volunteers are in each group. As each testing session is completed, I will store the memory scores that result from each test in an Excel spreadsheet on my Chromebook for easy access. I will be representing my data through a table that includes each participant's number and the treatment groups of binaural beats, lo-fi music, and silence. The participants each have their own identities in the first qualitative column that is the number assigned to them. The next column over contains qualitative data that consists of the treatment groups, where 1 through 10 is the binaural beats treatment, 11 through 20 is the lo-fi music, and 21 through 30 is the no audio at all. The third column contains quantitative data of memory scores from the memory test, which is ultimately what I'm observing and measuring. The lo-fi music and silence groups are expected to have very similar scores, while the binaural beats group should have a more significant impact on the performance of participants. After all of the data is collected on a table, I will be displaying the results through a scatter plot. This graph shows the kind of treatment and the scores that correspond with each. When referring to my hypothesis, it is expected that the binaural beats treatment will cause the highest scores, while the lo-fi music and silence have similar results, disregarding a few outliers, as evident through this hypothesized data. Ultimately, throughout the completion of this course, I have expanded my knowledge and experience in research as I had very limited prior experience. I have learned a number of things, but specifically the number of ways and strategies to conduct research was something I was not aware of. Before taking this course, I was unfamiliar with search strategies, so it greatly expanded the extent of my capabilities when it came to even simple researching tasks. On a more personal note, this class taught me how to manage my time more effectively due to the importance of good quality work that takes time, as it will affect the outcome of my senior research project. With all that being said, are there any questions?
So why do you not have them as their own control?
Well, I had asked you prior if I needed a silence group, because I wasn't sure either if I needed one. But I feel like it will, I don't know. I thought that it would be necessary to...
So, correct me if I'm wrong, on the statistical side of things, I feel like if you're going to have a silence group, which I think is a good thing as your baseline, that everybody, all 30, need to do the silence.
Okay.
And then you can either do that all 30, also do a binarial and lo-fi. What's the name of that design? It's that way. That's or you can do it where it's 30 do silence, and then 15 do binaural, 15 do lo-fi, and then that's it'll make a difference in what text you're doing. But that would be, I think, the best way to go about that. Don't you agree?
My suggestion was going to be, go for 10 people and have them do every single group. Because what is your test that you're using?
That was my next test, is what you're remembering.
It's a human benchmark visual memory test.
Okay, so.
Hold on, I want more about that. What is that?
It's where like the blocks light up and it's like a pattern.
So
You
like
have to remember.
kind of. But, okay.
For like getting participants, it's always difficult, and having them show up is another. So I would say plan to get 15 people and have them participate in every single group, because then your data is more comparable to each other, and you can actually draw more proper conclusions.
And if you go for 15 and some don't show up, then you'd at least have the 10 in 3 groups. But I would think, and I think we did talk about this, that it would need to be on different days to kind of like let the brain, to just get rid of that working variable. Okay. The test that you're doing, the human benchmark test, and you might have said this in your justification, but how is that one going to give you the measure that you need for memory?
I looked up like tests that people take, and that's the most popular, and they just produce like simple memory scores, so I thought that would be the easiest to use.
Do you know yet like what the score looks like?
I looked up like averages of scores when I was doing my raw data, like the fake data, and most of the time like it averages like 15 to 20. So when I was doing it, I just made the binaural beats a little bit higher than that, and then the silence and the lo-fi group, I just made them about that average number.
I think if we change it to where they're their own control, that'll change what type of test you do. I think it'll make it either a t-test or a paired t-test, if I'm not mistaken. But we don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, you did a good job. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, my bad.
Did you have any specific reason for choosing Q20 headphones?
No, I was not really sure what kind of headphones to use. That may change later. That's just what I had because I needed a specific kind to use.